Lawrence Neal here, and welcome back to highintensitybusiness.com. This is episode 311, and today is a very different type of episode, more of an experimental episode, so we'll see how this is received. This is a Q&A with Luke Carlson, who is the CEO and founder of Discover Strength. And what I've done is I've basically taken some of the most popular questions I've had inside Hit Business Membership, with clients I work with, or just simply questions that are emailed to me or left as comments on posts, that kind of thing. And I keep this spreadsheet where I look at, I kind of tally up which questions are the most frequent and keep a list so that I can, over time, address as many of those as possible in content. And Luke, I thought it'd be a good idea for us to connect and actually get your perspective on some of these. And I'm excited to learn from you and hear what you have to say. There are all sorts of questions. Some are going to be super easy for you. Some are going to be difficult. Some are controversial. Some might even make you feel uncomfortable, but you don't have to answer all of them if you don't want to. So welcome back to the podcast. Thanks for coming on again at such short notice.
Well, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure, Lawrence.
Cool. It is my pleasure also. And I'll just say ahead of time before we get into the questions, we're going to be getting through as many questions as we can. We might go deep on some questions because I think there's a lot of value in that. So with that said, there will be links provided in the blog post to this over at episode 311 if you want to explore the questions more, because Luke is going to, some of the questions I'm going to ask Luke are questions he's answered 57 times on previous shows. And so there'll be other resources we can go really deep on some of these. And Luke, I'm going to ask these from the first person perspective as we go. So let's start with client acquisition questions first. So let's just get it out of the way, Luke. How do I get more clients?
Yeah, so that's a great question to start with, right? It's the most important question is to grow a profitable personal training business. We need a lot of revenue and a lot of clients. And I think my answer to this over 15 years has stayed consistent. And it is, you have to do a great job with the one client that you have. So if you have 5 clients, you have to give a remarkable experience. And that means you're delivering an experience that's worthy of someone remarking about. So I didn't say a good experience. I didn't say a consistent experience. I didn't say an evidence-based workout. I said a remarkable experience where someone is compelled to remark about what just happened. When you do that, they will tell someone else and you will get a referral, and then you have a chance to win over that business. And as everyone knows in every industry, a referral is so much more profitable, so much easier to close than any other marketing avenue that we would pursue. Not only are they more cost effective, but they're easier to actually close and retain. So I think you have to deliver the remarkable experience with the client in front of you. And so one thing that we say, and we haven't said this for 15 years. For 15 years, I've said, you got to pay attention to the client in front of you. You have to deliver them an experience worthy of remarking about. For the last 5 or 6 years, we've said the best way to grow a high intensity training business is what we call one rep, one set, one client. So the only way you can grow the business is care about how the one rep in front of you is actually being performed, which leads into the one set that's being performed, which is a little bit of a play on words because so many of your listeners are into just doing about one set and then just that one client in front of you. As soon as you make it about trying to grow your entire client base at one time, I think we lose the focus that it's got to be about just the one client that you're training. So that's how I think the best way we actually acquire clients. I think you can spend very little money on marketing if you have that approach. And I'm not convicted that you can spend a tremendous amount of marketing and actually grow your personal training business.
Really interesting. What a great way to start. And I'm always a big fan of simplicity, Luke, you know that. And what I really love about this answer is that it's what retention's underpinned by as well. So if you really want to just simplify your business completely and really reduce the number of activities you're doing just by really focusing on the quality of the workout and the experience, it's going to, like you've taught me, really solve as many problems as possible in one go, right? Retention and client acquisition referrals. Just to follow up on that, go ahead. Sorry. Yeah.
I would say you're right. It's simple, but it's humbling, right? I mean, I've put my own leadership team, I've put myself, I've put our trainers for 15 years in this position where we say it's about the remarkable experience. And if we're not growing and we're not bringing new clients, there's something wrong with our experience. And you don't have a single listener, Lawrence, and I don't know a human on the planet that wants to really put the microscope on themselves and their own workout and say, maybe my workout's got to get better. And every close colleague I have in the industry, no one ever reaches out and asks about the workout. The only one that ever asks about the workout is James Fisher. He asks about workout nuances all the time. But, I've been on your podcast a few times, and I'll get really just my great friends and colleagues in the industry asking a follow-up business question, but they never asked a workout question, which I think is interesting. It's humbling, and I know it's humbling because I've been through it so many times. What do I have to do better in a workout to be able to earn this referral? And we end up getting there, but that's where our discussions are is what needs to happen in the workout.
And what would you say are 3 things perhaps that listeners can do better with their workouts? I mean, is it something specific to the workout, like you say, in terms of focusing on the client and the quality of the training? And or is it more to do with things they might be able to remark about, like aspects of the experience? So could you just to paint a picture for people so they have some ideas to take back to their business?
So I think 3 great places to start are, number 1, feedback. So what a client's really paying for is not a workout, they're paying for feedback. And so if you can give more specific feedback about performance, then people will pay for that. So that's number 1 is feedback. That usually means positive, specific feedback, but sometimes it means corrective feedback as well. This is what you're doing poorly. I need you to do it better. Okay, now you did it better. I'm going to reinforce that you did it better. And there's so many different ways to give this positive feedback. So I think that's number 1. I think number 2 is intensity of the workout. Are we pushing to muscle failure? Are we pushing beyond muscle failure? It's not just, is the intensity high, but is the intensity appropriate for the client that's in front of you? So you're really reading what that client needs and providing a high enough level of intensity. And then number 3, I think, is variety or variation in the exercise prescription. I think someone has to want to train with you and look forward to their workout for years and years and years to come. And so we need a little bit of variety and variation. And the good news is that doesn't render us not evidence-based, because the evidence suggests that we can incorporate a heck of a lot of things and they're all productive. And so how do we make sure that the client is excited to come back for our next workout and what we have planned for them next?
Okay, thank you for that. Would you also be think it's appropriate to say, before you said about how shirt and ties have been an important talk trigger for you and something that people remark about, or is that's really perhaps that's secondary to those 3 points you just said, really? Those kinds.
So I think that's important. I think the shirt and tie is important, and it's a differentiator and it's a talk trigger, for sure. I completely agree. I just think it's maybe a little bit more superficial than the other ones. Important, but superficial. If you wear the shirt and tie and you don't do the other 3 things, I think you're going to struggle. I'm obviously committed to the shirt and tie. We've done it since I saw it from Joe Cirilli in 2004. So I'm an advocate of it, but I think it's a little bit more superficial, and frankly, it's easy to copy, right? You would never say it's the secret to the business because anybody could also do it.
Yeah, well said. Now, next question is a little bit different for you probably. And I want to set this up with a little bit of explanation. So I'm just curious on your thoughts of ever doing a studio pre-sale. So this is the idea that, you've got a studio business, which you haven't yet opened, no clients, and you're looking to actually pre-sell. So get commitment, take payments from clients who are looking to then join when you open. So to essentially cash flow and start generating profit immediately. And this was actually triggered from a question by someone in Hit Business Membership. And And, they come from sort of a big health club background where this was a really, really popular strategy that they utilized in growing larger health clubs. And just a little bit more on that. Basically, they would get, say, a very low commitment from members, say $1, and build this, I assume, through some kind of online sales funnel where they would collect emails, get a very low commitment, and then they would, I can't remember exactly the steps from there, but they would essentially get, a couple thousand people to join at a low rate, maybe say $10 a month. And then they would then upsell them to personal training, and they might penetrate that with, say, 20, 30% of those would then upgrade to personal training. So it was a clever way to obviously generate revenue fast before, at the early stages of having a fitness business. So I'm just curious what you think about that as a strategy for boutique high intensity training businesses in terms of doing a pre-sale.
So I'm a massive fan of a pre-sale for the traditional health club. I've sat through lectures, literally 6-hour lectures on how to do the complete pre-sale. And I understand that it works. I understand that it is religion in the health club world. You literally have a trailer on the construction site. You have people come into the trailer and see what the facility is going to look like, and they sign up right there. I think it works in the health club space. The reason I'm not excited about it in the high intensity boutique studio space is I think that people need to know what they're buying. And when you buy a health club membership, everyone knows what they're getting, right? Just tell me the price and I know what I'm getting. If it's $20 a month, I know what I'm getting. If it's $120 a month, I know what I'm getting. The consumer is familiar with a health club. The consumer is not familiar with high intensity strength training. And so I think you have to demonstrate the value. You have to demonstrate what you actually do. You have to demonstrate your differentiation. And we've talked about this so much, Lawrence. I think the best way to do that is during a free introductory workout. We had a free introductory workout yesterday. Our trainer, Grace, gave a free introductory workout to a younger female, 27 years old, a great friend of one of our staff. And they went out for drinks afterwards. And, this staff member has been friends with this new client forever, and talked about Discover Strength. And the person finally did an introductory workout. And at the introductory workout, all she did was talk about the workout. After the introductory workout, when they went out for some drinks, all she did was talk about the workout. And she said, I feel like I've wasted so much of my time, so much of my life. I feel like I've been so dumb. I feel like everything I've done was wrong. I don't know why. I've never felt like I just felt before. On and on and on and on and on. And you know what? These two friends spend a lot of time together and they never talk about those things. All of that conversation was stimulated by the workout. You can communicate so much from the workout. So when I think about pre-sale, and we thought hard about pre-sale with our own studios, but then launching a franchise company, we were very pressured to come up with a pre-sale process. And where we always land is, unless someone can experience the workout, then I don't think you can have an effective sales process. So that's you could say I'm dogmatic about it, but I just think the best way to sell is to have someone experience the workout. And without that, I think a pre-sale, only the consumer really knows what they're getting into. And I know how you have to sell if someone can't experience the workout. That's some type of discount, right? And that is the worst way, that is the best way to degrade a brand right from the beginning. Your first interaction with this brand is that we're going to discount what we offer. I want your first interaction with us to be an unbelievable workout. We provide value, and then you are paying 100% full price. That's your relationship with us. We provide a remarkable experience. You pay full price.
I fully agree with everything you just said. And clearly I listen to you way too much, Luke, because or talk to you way too much, because that is exactly what I said to this person inside HIIT Business Membership, almost verbatim what you said there. Just because obviously I've listened to you so much and I've heard you talk about just the importance of being able to experience and feel it. And frankly, that's exactly what I've experienced in my own personal training business, right? It is that exactly that reaction. And just the impossibility of trying to articulate this stuff to people before they felt it for the first time. And now the question I was going to ask you is, do you have all of your, I think you might have said this to me before, but you have all of your prospective franchisees go for a workout then? Is that part of the sales process?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I love that. Yeah. Cool. All right. That was great. Okay, well, this is an interesting one. So obviously, in terms of target market demographics, it's quite popular to go after the busy professional, and obviously you can go even more focused on that in terms of focusing on, accountants, attorneys, fill in the blank. I'm just curious what you think are the most interesting and profitable demographics to consider in our business. And maybe there's other demographics and target markets that people can go after and build their business around. But just would love to hear how you've been thinking about this lately.
So what are the most profitable demographics to go after?
Most interesting and or most profitable, yeah.
Yeah, well, a couple comments here. One, I don't have the right answer. But my speculation on this is just a great starting point is don't even start with targeting a particular demographic, believe it or not, unless you have some data or a passion around a certain population that you want to work with. But I think the best approach is to start working with clients and then understanding what clients are the easiest to retain, they spend the most money with you, and then start to understand them. And there's a lot of different ways you can do this. You can just sit down and talk with them. You can just pay attention to them during the workout and say, how does this person think? What do they believe? How do they behave? Where do they spend money? And then you can start building everything that you do for that person. So, I think that every business should have this kind of ideal customer profile, or they should have this avatar and they should name it. And I actually don't think they should make it up. I think it should be a current client. And so that when you're building a marketing message, when you're writing an email, when you're making a decision, Jeff Bezos said about Jeff Bezos that he had an open chair at the conference table, and that chair was the voice of the customer. For me, it wouldn't be the voice of the customer in an empty chair. It would literally be that avatar. It would be, Sarah or Kristen or, whatever your best customer's name is, because you're building it for them. You're not building it for everyone, right? And that's the great Seth Godin quote. When someone looks at what you do and they're not interested and they walk away and they say it's overpriced or whatever, your answer should be, of course you walked away. Of course you're not interested. We didn't make it for you. We didn't build it for you. And we have to have conviction in saying that. So I think you work with some customers first, understand who loves what you do, and then start building around those people. And then what you can do, if you're sophisticated, you can understand, all right, let's look at all my top customers in this geography and let's get them on a map. And you can pay to have this analysis done. And you can say, where do people like these people live? And then you can, again, run analysis where you can say, people like this, where are more people like this in the market that I'm in? And of course, that's what we do in our franchising processes is we look at our studios and we are able to look at the people that spend the most money at one of our studios. Where are other people like that? Where do they live? And it's not just demographic, it's psychographic, right? There's plenty of places where I live where people make the same amount of money, but they're going to use that money and spend it very differently. They believe just different things than what our target market believes. Like our target market has to believe that it's worth it to spend money to have somebody put them through a workout, where that's really foreign to a lot of other people. So it's psychographic as much as demographic. So I said a few things there. I think it starts with just working with the customers that you work with, understand who your best customers are, and build everything around them. You will have customers. In the words of Lawrence Neal, your target market is not your total market. You're going to have people that fall on other ends of what that target market is. But I think that's where you should start. The other approach is you can say, I want to go after an underserved demographic because I have a passion for them. And I think we are uniquely positioned to serve them. And in our industry, this is a major take-home message. There is a tremendous amount of underserved people, right? The health club penetration rate worldwide. So when I say that, I mean almost all of North America and Europe, but frankly, China, Brazil, most of South America, the penetration rate is not high. Less than 20% of people belong to a health club, gym, studio, fitness center at all. So there's 80% of people out there that just have not worked out in a facility. And so you could find a way to target them, and you could find a way to really get niche on one particular focus there. So my second approach would be get niche around a demographic that you're really, really interested in. It could be a sport, it could be an ailment, it could be, just a variety of different things.
Yeah. I appreciate the attribution, but I stole that from Tim Ferriss, so I can't take credit for that. Maybe you already knew that. You were just trying to be nice. Um, all right, I'm just looking at questions here and thinking which ones would be the most useful. This is quite a good one. This is going more into retention now. How do I get, or operations, how do I get my trainers to be as driven and motivated as I am to help clients achieve their goals?
Well, the first answer is don't expect them to be. They're not going to be. If they were, they would probably be you. And since we're giving so much attribution to who shared these ideas, this comes from Gary Vaynerchuk. I listened to Gary Vaynerchuk have a caller in a live presentation. I don't remember what it was, say, I just can't get the rest of my employees to care as much as I care and work like I work and care about the customer like I do. And Gary's like, well, Gary probably cussed 6 times when he said it, but Gary said, of course you can't. Of course you can't. They don't have the economic upside that you have, right? They can't make the money that you can make off of this whole deal. They 100% should not care as much as you do. You have to live as an entrepreneur in a world where you're going to care more than your employees do. What you have to do is get your employees to care more than they currently do, right? It's not that they have to care as much as you. So how do you do that? Wow, what an interesting question. I think you have to establish a culture of caring, right? So one thing we do on the very first day of employment is we read this blog post written by Seth Godin about Steve Jobs. And it says Steve Jobs was the most loved businessman since Walt Disney because he cared. Now, by the way, Steve Jobs was an absolute jerk. He was a jerk. He denied the paternity of his daughter for many, many, many years. The guy was tough to work with, but customers loved him because he cared, right? He cared about what he was actually building. He cared about who was going to actually use it. And so what we have to just lay the foundation around is you have to care. You've said this before, Lawrence, you have to care more than your customer does, but care means the nuances of the workout, how the rep is performed, how you record it. I have our new trainers, when they train me, and a new trainer, Nikki, take me through a workout on Friday. And I say the same thing to all of our new trainers. You don't even get to hold my workout card and record it because your handwriting's too sloppy and your hand's going to smudge my workout card and you're not going to write in the box as neatly as I want you to. And I care so much and you don't care as much as I do. And so I'm not even going to let you record it, right? Which is bad for teaching because I need her to learn how to record, right? But I want her to be able to care a heck of a lot more before she's going to touch my workout card. So we have to establish this foundation of caring from the beginning. That's, I think, number one, right? That's what the customer can tell. They can tell how much we're sweating those details. And number two is I think you got to teach all of your employees that they have to own their work. So we always talk about work like you own it. You have to show up at work as if you're the owner of Discover Strength, but more importantly, you have to own the work that you're putting out into the universe. The work that you're doing, the session that you're delivering, you're not delivering it for Discover Strength or for Luke or for someone else. You're doing it for you. You own the work that you put out in the universe. Sigmund Freud brilliantly said, there are 2 things that make us human. Okay, there are 2 foundational qualities to our humanness. He said love is one of them, undeniable, and 2 is work. So our work is what makes us human. If you don't care about doing great work, if you don't care about the client's outcomes, then you're missing out on one of the 50% of what makes you a human being. So, but Leonardo da Vinci didn't paint the Mona Lisa thinking, I'm doing this because I'm commissioned to doing this. He did it because it was his work. He owned it. He put his signature on it. Not literally, he didn't sign the bottom of the painting. But that's what you have to do is you have to own the work that you're putting out in the universe. And you have to tell your staff that you're not doing it for me. You're the expert. You're the expert, skilled craftsman practitioner. Do the work for you. Do the work because it is a massive part of who you are. In the words of Jim Collins, at the end of our days, it's tough to have a great life without meaningful work. This is the most meaningful work that you can do. And the more you pour yourself into it, the better life you're going to have. So that got a little bit esoteric toward the end, but I think we have to lay that foundation with our staff. And then we have to, lastly, and this is much more tactical, is we have to model the way. Our staff have to see us doing it with clients, And then when we train our staff, we have to do it with the same level of attention and care. I think the best way I grew Discover Strength in our first 5 years of operations is I trained all of our trainers one-on-one, and they trained me. And I poured myself into those sessions, and I would never say no to someone wanting to train. If my trainer said, hey, can you train me on this time? I mean, I would do anything I could to make their workout a priority, and how I coached a rep and how I recorded it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I cared about their workout. They were more apt to care about their clients' workout.
Couple questions on that. So it's interesting because I'm currently working with a trainer trying to get them up to speed at the moment. And I'm just very curious how you work with them. So when they train you, for example, when you come off a machine and let's say there's 4 things they did wrong or 4 things you felt they did wrong, like, are you hammering them with all 4 of the hammerings, maybe the wrong word, wrong adjective? Are you bringing up those 4 things, or are you not, because that's going to overwhelm the individual? And I've just noticed that maybe it's better to just you say 1 or 2 things and do it in piecemeal, because otherwise it's so much. I'm just curious, what is that? Can you just elaborate on that process, what that looks like when they're training you? How are you making them better overall? Yeah.
I'll try to give the top ones in the moment, right? In the moment. Okay. And then after the workout, I'll do a recap of the other ones. And then I try to make it clear, you would learn this or get better at this, even if I didn't share this with you, right? Like after you train 10 more sessions, 40 more sessions, 60 more sessions, you're going to improve on all these things. I'm still going to give you the feedback, but this is the kind of stuff that improves with time. Now, this other feedback I'm giving you, it's not going to improve with time. I need to actually tell you how this needs to be done and how you're doing it now and how you need to bridge the gap between what the expectation is and how you're doing it now. And so sometimes someone trains you and the workout was decent, but frankly, they just need to do everything 7% better or 27% better. And they're going to get it. They just need more time. And you got to share that too, is I'm giving you this feedback, but you will get better with time. Whereas some other times it's like, hey, you just did this wrong and I need you to do it right. And here's what right looks like. And here's the why behind it, et cetera. But I 100% agree with what you led with is you can't give them 4 things right away because they just can't absorb all of it. And then you're probably going to paralyze them going into the next exercise of all the different things. And I'll even in the middle of the set give them a cue as, what are you thinking about now? What do you need to be thinking about? What's about to happen here that you need to? So they're thinking about it and kind of talking it through. Because I almost know what they're thinking or what they're not thinking, as we go through the set.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I know you were being succinct in your response when you said about, the things that are going to help your trainers get to that level, become more driven, more motivated, deliver a better service. But I was surprised you didn't mention any of the EOS related stuff around purpose. So having that purpose that unifies everyone, gets them all rowing in the same direction, gets them doing the work in the best way possible, even during really hard times, so they can endure that, such as like 2020 and COVID and everything else. And then also the trainer development plan, right, as a way to incentivize trainers to want to be part of your business. So like maybe I know you probably left that aside because you're focused on the other things, but I'm just curious how important they are relative to that question.
Well, I read or heard the question as, how do you take your trainers and get them to care more about the client and their results? So for me, that means they're already a trainer. And if they're already a trainer with you, that means they're already aligned with the core purpose of the organization. You wouldn't have hired them otherwise. Maybe a better answer is constant reminders and inspiration around what we're trying to do and why the nuances matter. We're going to read books and watch videos and talk to people and have people talk to us so that we're constantly re-inspired to, I'm going to say do it right. I don't know what right is. It's different for every business. But you can't just say, intellectually, I've heard it once and now I understand it forever. There needs to be constant reinvigoration and inspiration around different things. And that applies to everyone. It applies to me as well. One of the biggest things I've benefited from is traveling around and watching other high intensity training practitioners train people. And let me tell you, I've watched so many people train other clients and I just get so excited to, I might pick up one element of how they coach a rep or how they enforce something or how enduring their schedule is, if we're thinking about Doug Holland. But there's other trainers that are similar to Doug Holland, and you can pick up some type of renewed source of inspiration or someplace you want to go deeper from paying attention to what your other colleagues are doing, which is why I think you just can't do high intensity training in a vacuum. I think you've got to be connected to other people, in my opinion. And you need to connect your staff. Okay, so that's what I should have said is you have to connect your staff. One of the biggest things I've seen, and I have this bias because I'm involved with Resistance Exercise Conference, is we have a lot of owners that come to that conference, right? And I'm like, I know you have at least 2 to 7 trainers, but you came to the conference. Chances are you already are bought into this stuff. You actually don't need to be here, but my goodness, your 2 to 7 staff need to be here. So I knew from day one that I didn't need to attend all that stuff, but my staff needed to attend all that stuff. If I ever found myself thinking I need to be there, right away it was, well, hold on. We'd actually probably get a better return if my staff went there than just I went there. And eventually I ended up saying, well, I should be there also because it would just be fun to be there. But that's what we have to do is we have to put our staff in those positions. And that sounds like I was being selfish saying people should come to Resistance Exercise Conference. Forget that. We send staff to all different conferences and all different events because we want them to learn it and make it theirs, right? Make it theirs. I tell every employee on their first day, I say, right now, we're going to tell you how to do things. And you're going to go home and you're going to talk to a friend tonight and you're going to say, at my new job, this is how we train people. 1 year from now, you're going to look at a friend and you're going to say, this is how you train people, right? It's going to go from this is how my job tells me to do it to this is just how it's done. Meaning you were told to do it at first. Now you've internalized it and you've decided this is how I want to do it. And we can't force someone to get to that point. They have to gradually get to that point. And if they don't get to that point, they're not going to be a good fit, right? We don't want you working here long term if you're not buying into everything that we're doing. You got to do it because it's your thing.
Yeah, great answer. Love that. And one final question, I think, is probably what we've got time for here. If we can just spend a little bit of time on this, not obviously just 1 or 2 minutes if you can, Luke, if you can try and answer this one succinctly, it might be difficult, but what's the mindset that you have and how do you price one-on-one personal training?
Yeah, great question. I definitely have time. I have more time than I do quality answers for that. Let me take a few stabs at it. Perusing websites of some of our great colleagues, I think we've made the mistake of underpricing our one-on-one sessions. My initial stab at this is always, well, the market is doing 1-hour sessions, right? And whatever they're charging for an hour, we should just make sure that if you cut it in half, you should cut it in half and then increase it so that we are making more money per unit of time than anybody else in our market. But yet our session price is still less expensive than everyone we're competing with, right? So if the local health club is $75 for a personal training session, that's an hour long, we could come in at $42 and we'd be generating $84 an hour and they're generating $75 an hour. So that's our competitive advantage is more revenue per unit of time. That is a massive advantage. But then the customer thinks this is so much more affordable than personal training somewhere else. And of course, this goes back to you got to get them to do a free introductory workout because they have to understand that 30 minutes is all they need, or 20 minutes or whatever your listener is doing, but it does not have to be an hour. And that's what actually someone has to experience. And then after they experience it, they say, this is great because I've never felt that way before. The workout was awesome. And I actually don't think I have that much time anyways. So I love that the workout is more efficient. So that's where I would start is understand what personal training costs in your market and then cut it in half and then add, whatever number of percentage points. Then I think the second thing, and this is really important, is you got to think about the brand that you're trying to build. And every brand decision has to be consistent. It baffles me that we have people in our industry buying Medix equipment, which is the Rolls Royce of exercise equipment, right? Unbelievable. But they make other brand decisions that degrade their brand. Like they don't charge much for the workout, which is a great way to degrade the brand. They don't dress professionally when they train a client. And by dress professionally, I just mean have a uniform, have an approach, have some standard of what you're going to do. How the facility looks, the cleanliness of the facility, all of these decisions, websites, that degrade the brand. So we've gone all in on a Rolls Royce, Medix product, but then the rest of the brand is inconsistent. We have to charge in a way that's consistent with everything we're doing in the brand. And there's not one day, there's definitely not 1 week that goes by where I don't tell our leadership team as a reminder, we are a luxury brand. Everything we have to do has to be at that consistent level. The way we market, the way we communicate, the way we dress, the way, all of it, right? We teach every one of our new employees luxury language when they start. Okay, if someone says, thank you, we don't say no problem. We say, my pleasure. We say the word certainly. We don't say sure or yes. We say certainly. So we're going to learn these things because we're charging a premium. And I want to continue to charge a premium. So every decision has to be associated with that price point. If we're charging a premium because we're saying you're training with an expert, educated personal trainer, well, then heck, we better continually upgrade the expertise of that personal trainer. So they all have to be aligned. Every decision has to be aligned. So when you think about pricing, you're not thinking about pricing. You're thinking about the creation of the entire brand. And are you willing to make every brand decision congruent with that price point? Now, that's true if the price point is really, really steep or if it's really, really low. I mean, if you're going $28 for a 30-minute session in most parts of the US, you better have the rest of your brand, at that same level. So that there's consistency and congruency and you're eliminating cost at every possible turn to make that work. I'm not saying it doesn't work, but you better make every decision aligned with it. And what I see in a lot of hit practitioners is they're just all over the board in terms of the brand they've created. Now, brand does not mean their logo. Brand means the entire brand experience.
Mm-hmm. That was great. Perfect answer. Nice one, Luke. Best way for people to learn more about you and learn more about REC and the Discover Strength franchise opportunity as well?
Yeah, so we would love to have people attend REC. It's coming up in October in Las Vegas. They can go to resistanceexerciseconference.com. I say this every year, but I think we have the best lineup we've ever had. We have just a really, really great lineup. They can check out more there. If you're ever interested in Discover Strength, it's discoverstrength.com and discoverstrengthfranchise.com. And if someone has a question for me, I'd love to be able to respond to them. It's just luke@discoverstrength.com.
Excellent. Thank you, Luke. And if you really enjoyed this episode, I really encourage you to consider joining HIT Business Membership. Luke is a member because in there, Luke and I have collaborated on so many sort of bite-sized modules on every single aspect of your high-intensity training business, whether it's, again, pricing, retention, marketing, sales, all sorts. So if you're interested in joining that and getting access to high caliber HIT community, monthly Q&As, private coaching from myself, again, access to more content, exclusive content from people like Luke, please go to highintensitybusiness.com/membership to learn more. And to find the blog post for this episode and download a PDF on 10 proven ways you can get more high intensity training clients, please go to highintensitybusiness.com and search for episode 311. And until next time, thank you very much for listening.